There's a war on common sense and customers are winning. Someone just filed a complaint because the ocean was too salty. Another is demanding a refund because their ice cream was too cold. If you think humanity is evolving, think again. These are the dumbest customer complaints ever, and yes, they're all real. 1. This roller coaster was too fast, complained one man after riding the park's most extreme thrill ride. Twice. He demanded a refund because the ride should have had brakes and suggested they install seatbelts on a roller coaster. If you want a slow ride with safety features, sir, may I suggest a bench? 2. A hotel guest in Miami threatened to sue because their ocean view room had too much ocean. When asked for clarification, they explained that the sound of waves was annoying and suggested the hotel turn them off at night. Mother Nature declined to comment. 3. Someone in Arizona returned a snow globe because it didn't snow enough. They shook it vigorously in front of the cashier, exclaiming, "See? Barely anything." Sir, what did you expect? An actual blizzard? Maybe next time? Try Antarctica. 4. A woman in a steakhouse sent back her medium-rare filet because it was too meaty. Confused, the waiter asked what she wanted instead. "Something less beef-like," she replied. She then ordered the chicken. 2 bites in, she sent that back too, because it tasted too much like poultry. 5. A furious man at an aquarium demanded to speak to a manager because the dolphins refused to wave back. He stood by the tank for 30 minutes, frantically waving, while the dolphins, being dolphins, just swam around. "I paid good money for this," he yelled. "Yes, sir, but not to hire them." 6. A tourist in New Orleans left a scathing review after trying gumbo, saying it was too spicy and tasted like the South. He then suggested the restaurant make a version without all the flavor. "Sir, that's just hot water." 7. One woman insisted that her hotel's continental breakfast should include steak and lobster. When told that wasn't how continental breakfasts work, she scoffed and muttered, "Cheap Europeans." "Ma'am, for $18 a night, you're lucky to get a stale muffin." 8. A Florida man stormed out of a zoo because the zebras looked suspiciously like horses. He accused the staff of painting them and demanded an investigation. Meanwhile, the zebras, real, breathing zebras, continued living their best lives, unaware of the conspiracy. 9. A shopper in Texas called customer service furious that his extra-large pizza didn't fit inside his microwave. "It's not my fault your pizza's too big," he snapped. "You should have made it smaller." "Sir, I believe that's just called a medium." 10. A diner in California returned his French fries, saying they weren't French enough. When asked to elaborate, he said he expected them to taste like Paris. The waiter suggested he eat them next to a tiny Eiffel Tower souvenir for authenticity. 11. A woman at a Florida resort demanded a refund because the beach was too sandy. She insisted that real beaches have smooth floors, and this was false advertising. When the manager explained that sand was, in fact, a standard beach feature, she countered, "Well, they should have vacuumed it before we arrived." Somewhere, a Roomba is shaking with fear. 12. A man returned an expensive telescope because it only zooms in on space. Apparently, he thought it would also function as a long-range binocular for spying on his neighbors. He angrily told the cashier, "I wanted to see what Dave's grilling, not the stupid moon." "Sorry, sir, but NASA isn't interested in Dave's BBQ secrets." 13. A customer at a vegan restaurant was outraged that the vegan burger didn't contain beef. When the waiter gently pointed out that vegan means no animal products, the man slammed his menu down and yelled, "So what? You people just make up words now." He then ordered a salad, but later complained it had too many vegetables. 14. A tourist in New York City was horrified to find out Times Square didn't have an actual square. "It's all just lights and people," he complained. "Where's the giant stone plaza where people sit and discuss philosophy?" Sir, you may be thinking of ancient Greece, or possibly a mall food court. 15. A woman at an ice cream shop angrily asked for a refund because her scoop of vanilla was too white. She accused the staff of watering it down and demanded they add food coloring to make it look more authentic. When offered chocolate, She scoffed. I don't trust brown food. Congratulations, ma'am. That's the weirdest form of racism we've seen today. 16. Someone at a zoo filed an official complaint because the flamingos were too pink and looked unnatural. He was convinced they were spray-painted for aesthetic reasons and suggested the zoo hire more subtle-colored birds. When staff explained that flamingos get their color from their diet, he nodded suspiciously and whispered, "That's what they want you to think." 17. A hotel guest in Colorado left a furious review because their Mountain View room had too much mountain. They claimed the giant peak outside blocked the sunrise and suggested the hotel trim it down a little. "We'll get right on that, sir. Just let us find a chainsaw big enough." 18. A man demanded a full refund at a magic show because he didn't believe in magic. He ranted for 20 minutes about how it was all just tricks and illusions, completely missing the fact that, yes, that's exactly what magic is. When the magician made his refund disappear, he was somehow even angrier. 19. A woman at a Texas BBQ joint ordered a full rack of ribs and then lost her mind because they came from an actual animal. "I thought ribs were just like rib-shaped," she wailed. "Ma'am, did you also think chicken nuggets grow on trees?" 20. A man stormed out of a sushi restaurant because the sushi was too raw. He insisted that real sushi is cooked and accused the chef of trying to poison people. When the waiter calmly explained that sushi is traditionally raw, he shouted, "Then why do they have stoves back there?" Excellent detective work, Sherlock. 21. A woman at a spa left a 1-star review because her hot stone massage was, in her words, too hot and too stony. She claimed the stones felt unnaturally solid and suggested they use something softer, like pillows. "Yes, ma'am. Nothing says hot stone therapy like a couple of microwaved throw pillows." 22. A man at a drive-thru lost his temper because his burger looked different than in the commercials. He demanded the cashier make it taller and suggested using some kind of burger scaffolding to get that perfect stacked look. "Sir, if we could defy gravity like that, we'd be building floating cities, not cheeseburgers." 23. A couple on a cruise ship complained to customer service that the ocean was too wavy. They demanded the captain turn the water down a bit and suggested that maybe drop an anchor somewhere so the waves stop. That's not how the ocean works. 24. A woman returned a scented candle because it smelled too much like lavender. The label literally said pure lavender, but she was convinced it was a trick. "I thought it would be more of a suggestion, not an actual lavender smell," she said. "Sorry, ma'am, we'll start making candles that smell like vague concepts instead." 25. A man at a farm-to-table restaurant was furious that his chicken dish tasted too much like chicken. "It's just so chickeny," he complained. "Like really intense chicken." When the waiter explained that the restaurant uses fresh, local poultry, he nodded solemnly and muttered, "Well, maybe tone it down next time." 26. A furious email was sent to a zoo director demanding an immediate explanation. "Why do the giraffes have such long necks? This is deeply unsettling." The writer suggested the zoo trim them down a little, or at least offer visitors an alternate viewing area where they don't have to see them. Evolution is shaking its head right now. 27. A woman in a New York cafe was absolutely livid upon discovering that black coffee was, in fact, just coffee. "I thought it was a special flavor," she snapped, demanding something with actual taste. The barista hesitated before quietly handing her a sugar packet, which she accepted with a dignified nod as if solving a great mystery. 28. A review for a ski resort contained the immortal words, "Too much snow, slipped multiple times." The guest went on to suggest installing heated outdoor walkways, because apparently the mountain should adjust to them. "You signed up for skiing, sir. If you wanted something snow-free, perhaps the beach would have been a safer bet." 29. Someone returned an air mattress after one night because it deflated when I lay on it. The store asked if they had, by any chance, inflated it first. "Obviously not," they scoffed. "I assumed it would recognize when I needed support and just do its job." Somewhere in a factory, an air pump is filing for emotional distress. 30. A man refused to pay his dinner bill because his salad was too healthy. You didn't even try to make it unhealthy, he fumed at the waiter. Where's the cheese, the bacon, the deep-fried stuff? He then pointed at a neighboring table's burger and muttered, "That's what I should be eating?" Sir, I believe that's called ordering the wrong thing. 31. A woman demanded an airline compensate her because the clouds outside her window seat didn't look as fluffy as in the commercials. She felt deceived and suggested they invest in some better-looking clouds to match their branding. Maybe get some of those cute round ones next time, she wrote. NASA is currently looking into it. 32. Your hotel bathtub is a death trap, one complaint began. The guest wasn't upset about the water temperature or a slippery floor. No, their issue was the drain. I could feel the water leaving, they raged. Why is it pulling away from me? This is deeply unsettling. Sir, that's how drains work. It's not rejecting you personally. 33. A man at a bakery demanded a refund because his croissant was too flaky. It crumbled when I bit into it, he complained. When told that's exactly how croissants work, he sighed. Well, maybe they should be engineered better. Sir, you're not eating a space shuttle, it's pastry. 34. A woman walked into a store, grabbed a winter coat, and marched to the register. This says windproof, she said. Does that mean I can stand in a tornado and be fine? The cashier, unsure whether she was joking, suggested she maybe not try that. She sighed dramatically, muttered something about false advertising, and left without the coat. 35. A hotel in California received a furious review because the ocean was too loud at night. I came here to relax, the guest wrote, not to be harassed by waves. They then demanded a refund unless the hotel could turn the ocean down a notch. Poseidon has yet to respond to the request. 36. There were no signs warning me that the sun would be bright, read one review of the Grand Canyon. I had to squint several times throughout my visit. The guest suggested the park install more shaded areas or, ideally, find a way to soften the sun's intensity for tourists. Yes, ma'am. We'll send an email to the solar system. 37. A fast food chain once received a legal threat from a customer who claimed their meal was so delicious, it should be classified as illegal. I lost all self-control and ate 2 whole burgers, the letter read. If this isn't a violation of my rights, I don't know what is. Sir, your only crime here is against your diet. 38. A man at a gas station asked the clerk to refill his electric car. Confused, the employee explained they only sold gasoline. The customer scoffed and pointed at the energy drinks in the fridge. You sell electricity right there, he said. I'm not stupid. The debate ended when he stormed out, presumably to plug his car into a vending machine. 39. A gym received a furious email. Why do treadmills have no finish line? I ran for 30 minutes and still didn't get anywhere. The complaint suggested adding a realistic endpoint so people could feel like they actually went somewhere. Alternatively, they proposed the treadmills move forward a little, which is just running outdoors. 40. Your aquarium is filled with water, wrote one horrified visitor. No one told me I'd have to look through water to see the fish. The complaint included a suggestion. Drain the tanks so guests can get a clearer view. Yes, sir, that'll work great. For about 10 minutes. Then you'll just have a room full of very confused fish. 41. A tourist at a national park was furious to discover that wild animals were, in fact, wild. Why isn't there a fence keeping the deer in one place? They asked. I wasted 2 hours hiking and only saw 3. They then suggested the park install more animals for convenience. Nature really should try harder to be entertaining. 42. A man in a steakhouse demanded his T-bone be as fresh as possible. The waiter assured him it was. No, he clarified. I mean, I want to meet the cow first. He then proposed that they bring it out on a leash so he could personally approve the cut. Sir, this is dinner, not an adoption agency. 43. A furious email to a car dealership read, Nowhere did you warn me that automatic windows meant they'd be controlled by me. The customer assumed the windows would roll down on their own when needed. I expected them to read the temperature and act accordingly, they ranted. Sir, Your car is not an employee. 44. A guest at a 5-star hotel filed a complaint because the pillows were too soft. I sank into them, he wrote, and for a moment I wasn't sure if I'd ever return. He then demanded at least one emergency firmness pillow be provided per room. Sounds like the man barely survived a luxury crisis. 45. A gym-goer was outraged after discovering that lifting weights requires effort. I thought they'd adjust to my strength level automatically, they huffed. What kind of outdated system is this? They then suggested that modern gyms should upgrade to voice-activated weights that lift themselves. Science, do your thing. 46. A woman on a cruise ship left a furious review. Water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Apparently, she assumed that because they were on the ocean, unlimited free drinking water should be included. If we're surrounded by it, why am I paying for bottled water? She fumed. Well, ma'am, let me introduce you to salt. 47. A fast food chain received a complaint from a man who felt misled by their drive-thru. I assumed the food would be delivered to my house if I just sat there long enough, he explained. When asked how long he waited, he responded, 20 minutes before I realized maybe I had to drive away. 48. A hotel guest was outraged upon discovering that room service didn't include a butler. I called and asked for a bedtime story, he complained. The staff laughed at me. He then suggested all luxury hotels provide optional nighttime storytelling services for stressed-out adults. You know what? Honestly, not the worst idea. 49. A woman demanded a refund at a bakery because the gluten-free cake tasted too healthy. When asked what she expected, she snapped, "Something that feels bad for me but isn't." She then suggested they create a gluten-free cake that mentally tastes like a real cake but physically isn't. Ma'am, you want delicious deception. 50. Your elevators are too fast, one hotel review read. I was expecting a smooth, cinematic rise to my floor, but instead, I was there in seconds. The guest proposed that at least one elevator be programmed to move at a dramatic storytelling pace for people who enjoy the journey. 51. A man walked into a bookstore, pointed at the self-help section and asked, "So, do these books read themselves to you?" The employee explained that he had to read them. He scoffed, "Then what's the point?" before storming out, muttering something about false advertising. 52. A woman at a farm stand was shocked to learn that eggs come from chickens. I thought they just grew in cartons, she whispered in horror, like on a tree or something. The farmer, doing his best to remain professional, simply handed her a dozen and said, "Ma'am, these ones are freshly harvested." 53. A diner returned his grilled cheese because it was too cheesy. "It's overwhelming," he complained. "This is just too much melt." When the waiter reminded him that he had, in fact, ordered a cheese sandwich, he sighed and muttered, "Yeah, but I didn't expect this much commitment." 54. A gym got a formal request to install air conditioning on the treadmills. Not in the building, the email clarified. In the actual treadmills, so the breeze moves with me as I run. The customer argued this was basic physics, and that science should work harder to meet human needs. 55. A man ordered a cappuccino and was horrified when it arrived in a cup. "I thought it came in a bottle," he groaned. "Like soda." When the barista tried to explain that cappuccinos are traditionally served hot in cups, he frowned and said, "Well, then how do I shake it?" "Sir, please don't shake the cappuccino." 56. A customer at a pet store demanded a refund because their hamster wasn't doing enough. "I expected it to be more active," they complained. "It just kind of sits there." When asked how long they had it, they replied, "Oh, I haven't taken it out of the box yet." "Sir, please give the hamster a chance." 57. A man tried to return his TV because it only showed what was on. He was outraged that he had to wait for good shows, instead of selecting anything at any time. When the employee suggested streaming services, he sighed. "Oh, so now I have to do work to enjoy TV. Sir, that's called free will." 58. A tourist at the Grand Canyon was furious that there were no escalators down. "You expect people to just walk?" they raged. They proposed a gondola system or at least some moving sidewalks. Ma'am, this is one of the natural wonders of the world, not a mall. 59. A woman at a flower shop was outraged when she realized the bouquet she bought would eventually die. You mean this isn't forever? She gasped. When the florist gently reminded her that flowers are, in fact, living things, she muttered, "Well, that's just poor product design." 60. A woman returned a mirror because it lied to her. "I'm not this short," she snapped. "Something is off." She then demanded the store adjust it so it showed her real height. "Ma'am, that's not a mirror issue, that's just reality." 61. A cruise guest was shocked to learn that the sea is salty. "I just assumed it was like normal water but more exciting," they wrote in their complaint. They should warn people before they taste it. Who's out here just sampling the ocean like it's a free Costco sample? 62. A man stormed out of a gym because exercise made him tired. "I came here to get fit, not lose energy," he shouted at the front desk. When they explained that workouts require effort, he blinked and muttered, "Well, that's just bad business." 63. A tourist in Alaska was outraged when they couldn't see the northern lights at noon. "It's false advertising," they raged. When told that the aurora is only visible at night, they scoffed, "Well, maybe it shouldn't be. We'll let Mother Nature know." 64. A hotel guest was furious that the minibar snacks weren't complimentary. "If they're inside my room, they should be mine," he argued. "I don't pay extra for the furniture." When asked if he also expected the bed to be free to take home, he paused and said, "Well, now that you mention it." 65. A man refused to buy an umbrella because it didn't cover his entire body. "I want full protection," he insisted, "including the sides." When the store clerk suggested a raincoat, he scoffed, "Oh, so now I have to wear a whole outfit just to avoid one weather condition." 66. "The desert is too dry," read one scathing review of a national park. The visitor was disappointed that there weren't more water features and suggested the park install some lakes for better photos. "Ah yes, let's just install nature. Should be easy." 67. A woman at a fast food drive-thru was livid when her milkshake was too thick. "How am I supposed to drink this?" she yelled. When offered a spoon, she gasped, "Oh, so now it's ice cream?" "Ma'am, I believe we've just uncovered the great milkshake paradox." 68. A shopper in a grocery store complained that the bananas were too banana-y. "I expected more of a neutral taste," they explained, "less fruity." When asked what kind of bananas they usually eat, they frowned and muttered, "I don't know. The ones from cartoons?" 69. A man demanded a refund for his sunglasses because the sun was still bright. "These don't cancel it out," he complained. "I expected full blockage." "Sir, you don't need sunglasses, you need a basement." 70. A hotel guest called the front desk in a panic. "There's a bug in my room," they gasped. When asked if it was a cockroach or a spider, they whispered, "No, it's a ladybug." The receptionist assured them that ladybugs are harmless, but they insisted, "It's red, and I don't trust that." Somewhere, a ladybug is crying. 71. A woman was horrified to discover that her fish fillet was made from real fish. "You mean this was a swimming thing?" she gasped. When the waiter gently reminded her that all seafood comes from the sea, she stared at her plate in betrayal. "I thought it was just called fish for branding." 72. A man at a music festival was outraged that the bass from the speakers was too bassy. "I came here for music, not to feel like my organs are dancing," he yelled at the sound technician. He then suggested they turn the bass down by at least 30% and provide an alternative listening section for people who prefer gentle beats. 73. A tourist in a historic village was horrified to learn that the blacksmith demonstration involved actual fire. "This seems wildly unsafe," they whispered. "Shouldn't they just pretend to forge things?" They later wrote a review suggesting that museums use CGI instead of real flames, so visitors wouldn't have to worry about medieval hazards. 74. A woman refused to buy honey because she had serious concerns that it might contain bee-related ingredients. "I don't eat insect products," she explained, glaring at the jar. When an employee gently reminded her that honey is made by bees, she gasped, "Wait, so that's not just a marketing gimmick?" Somewhere, a beekeeper just lost the will to continue. 75. A hotel received a complaint stating the moon was too bright at night. The guest demanded the staff install curtains on the outside of the building to regulate the lunar glow. When informed that this was not possible, they scoffed, "Well, that's just lazy hospitality." NASA is still looking for a way to accommodate their request. 76. A man tried to return his sneakers because they were too comfortable. "I don't trust them," he muttered. "Shoes aren't supposed to feel this good. What's the catch?" He then suggested the company add at least a tiny amount of discomfort so people could mentally prepare for reality. "Congratulations, sir. You've just rejected comfort as a concept." 77. A customer in a bookstore demanded a refund for a novel because the plot was too unpredictable. "I like stories where I can guess what happens next," they complained. "This book kept surprising me, and that's not what I paid for." They later suggested all books come with a predictability rating for those who prefer mild emotional engagement. 78. A hotel in Alaska received a complaint that their Northern Lights tour was too cold. "You should really turn up the heat in the outside areas," the review read. "It's 2025. Why is cold still a thing?" Science. Your move. 79. A family on vacation left an angry review because the ocean wasn't as blue as in travel brochures. "We were expecting a vibrant turquoise," they wrote, "but this was closer to navy." They suggested the tourism board reconsider their water supplier, or find a way to adjust the ocean's hue seasonally. Poseidon, your move. 80. A fast food restaurant was accused of false advertising because their large fries weren't emotionally large enough. "I was expecting more joy," the customer explained. "Yes, the portion size was fine, but did it feel large?" "No." They recommended renaming them to reasonably satisfying fries to set accurate expectations. 81. A gym was flooded with complaints after replacing their outdated weight machines with modern ones. "These look too futuristic," one member fumed. "I came here to get fit, not to pilot a spaceship." Another demanded a refund because the machines had digital screens, and they preferred their workouts to feel more authentic, like in the 1800s. 82. A man demanded a discount at a bowling alley because his ball was too round. "I like a little challenge," he insisted. "This rolls too perfectly." When told all bowling balls are round, he muttered, "Well, that's just lazy design," and suggested they offer slightly irregular options for those who enjoy imperfect physics. 83. A woman on a wildlife tour was outraged when a bear didn't show up on cue. "I was promised bears," she ranted. "Where is it?" When the guide explained that wild animals move on their own schedule, she scoffed, "So what's the point of the tour?" "Ma'am, if you want guaranteed animals, may I suggest a plush toy store?" 84. A customer at an electronics store asked, "Do you have wireless extension cords?" When the employee hesitated, the man elaborated, "You know, like an invisible cord that extends power through the air." When told that's not how electricity works, he sighed, "Well, it should be," and left, presumably to invent one himself. 85. A hotel guest refused to sleep because the room was too silent. "I need some noise," they explained. "At home, I have neighbors yelling, dogs barking, and sirens every 20 minutes." They later suggested hotels offer an optional City Chaos soundtrack so guests could feel like they never left home. Honestly, that might actually sell. 86. A couple on a tropical vacation was furious to learn that the rainforest was humid. "We expected something more breathable," they wrote in their review. "This level of moisture feels aggressive." They then suggested that the government install dehumidifiers in key locations to create a more visitor-friendly jungle experience. Nature, please update your settings. 87. A woman stormed out of a perfume store after realizing that the tester bottles were not free samples. "Why put them there if I can't take them home?" she snapped. When the clerk explained they were for in-store use only, she muttered, "This is why I don't trust society," and left with the dignity of a person who almost committed petty theft. 88. A man refused to buy an alarm clock because it didn't include a custom snooze experience. I want options, he insisted, like a gentle wake-up mode or a don't even think about it snooze. When told that the snooze button already exists, he scoffed, "Yeah, but it's boring," and left in search of a clock that understood his soul. 89. A review of a scenic mountain lodge included the phrase, "too much wilderness." The guest complained that the lodge was surrounded by way too many trees and suggested the resort clear out at least 30% of them for better views. "Ma'am, if you don't like trees, why did you book a forest getaway?" 90. A fast food restaurant received a bizarre complaint. "Your fries taste too much like potatoes." The customer was horrified that their meal contained real ingredients and suggested the company use less earthy-tasting potatoes. "Sir, I think what you're looking for is styrofoam." 91. A guest at a 5-star hotel demanded that the staff replace the soap daily, even though they never used it. "It just feels wrong seeing the same bar there every day," they wrote. "I want freshness, even if it's wasteful." Somewhere, an environmentalist just passed out. 92. A man at a car dealership was outraged that a test drive required driving. "I just want to sit inside and vibe," he explained. When the salesperson suggested he try the seats, he nodded. "Yes, and maybe you drive me around while I experience the car." "Sir, you're not buying a taxi ride." 93. A woman at a zoo filed a formal complaint that the lions looked bored. She suggested the staff set up surprises for them, like hiring an actor dressed as a gazelle to run around for excitement. When informed that that would be wildly unethical, she sighed, "Well, at least give them a Netflix account." 94. A man in a clothing store refused to buy a jacket because it was too good at keeping him warm. "I want a little suffering," he explained. "This feels cheaty." He later suggested the brand release a mildly effective line for people who want to earn their warmth. "Sir, we have scarves for that." 95. A woman at a coffee shop demanded a refund because her espresso shot was too small to be real coffee. "I paid full price for this," she ranted. When the barista explained that espresso is concentrated, she gasped, "So you're saying this is coffee juice?" "Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what it is." 96. A man at a golf course demanded a refund because the grass was too real. "I expected more of a clean carpet feel," he wrote. "This is just a field with holes in it." He later suggested the course pave over some sections so people could golf without nature getting in the way. 97. A man at an all-you-can-eat buffet left an angry review. "They let me eat too much." "They should have limits," he argued. "I can't be trusted in this environment." "Sir, that's a you problem." 98. A shopper tried to return a pair of sunglasses because they didn't make things darker enough. "I expected a full blackout effect," they explained. When the cashier pointed out that sunglasses are for reducing light, not eliminating it, the customer sighed. "So you're telling me I should just close my eyes?" 99. A review of a lakeside resort included the complaint. The lake was too wet. "I thought it would be more like a reflective pool," they wrote, "but it had waves and splashed me." They suggested that the resort install some sort of barrier to tame the water. That's not a lake anymore, that's a puddle. 100. A man refused to buy a phone case because it felt too safe. "I want my phone to have some risk," he explained. "Otherwise, I'll never appreciate it." When the employee asked if he wanted to drop his phone, he nodded solemnly. That's just the circle of life. 101. A woman at a concert complained that the live music didn't sound exactly like the studio version. "Why even perform if you're going to change things?" she ranted. She later suggested that artists just play the album over the speakers while lip-syncing for a more accurate experience. "Ma'am, I believe what you're looking for is Spotify." And there you have it. The front line of humanity's ongoing battle against basic logic. If you ever feel unqualified for life, just remember, someone out there genuinely believes sushi should be fully cooked and that hotels control the brightness of the moon. Now tell me, what's the dumbest complaint you've ever heard? Drop it in the comments, and let's lose faith in humanity together.